Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for TikTok to turn up. TikTok to turn up. That was hard to say. Oh, okay. Hello. Devon. I've never seen it spelled with an A before. Interesting. Okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. I didn't do a live yesterday. I try and do one every day, but on weekends they're getting a bit crazier. So, yeah, I might just sort of try and do them every weekday, but I do like to try and do daily lives. Okay, so if you've been here before, you know I'm splitting my lives in half now. So the whole hour will be on. Wait a minute, what's going on? Oh, interesting. YouTube looks a bit different today. Anyway, they keep changing things on me. So the whole hour of this live is on YouTube. That's where all my lives are saved. And then I split them up between Instagram and TikTok. So I'll be doing 30 minutes on TikTok today, and then I'm going to be moving over to Instagram for 30 minutes, just so you know. So because of that, because I'm doing less time on here, so I don't do a big introduction, but if you go on the link above, you'll see everything I've got to offer in my business, courses, etc. So you can just start asking your parenting questions if you'd like. I just did 2 videos. I've got a third one ready to go up tonight. I just did 2 videos today, 2 new ones. What was that? Oh yeah, really common question. My toddler keeps hitting his baby brother. So you got a toddler who's hitting your baby? Yeah, that comes up all the time, constantly, super common. I think a lot of parents, especially if you're a new parent, you haven't been around kids a lot, tend to think that they're the only ones going through stuff. You never are. Everyone else is going through all the same stuff. Okay, so parenting questions. Let's get going with that. Yeah, as I said, I'm doing 30 minutes on TikTok, then I'm moving over to Instagram for 30 minutes, but the whole hour will be on YouTube. So I'm also kind of getting going on Facebook now too. It's been a process. TikTok was, I kind of grew on there. Then I'm moving over to Instagram. That's kind of settled into a routine now. And then YouTube and Facebook. So I'll be on all 4. I'm on all 4 already, actually. So anyway, parenting questions. I haven't got one parenting question yet. I don't know why my voice went like that. My 11-year-old will not take no for an answer. Okay, so he's stubborn. Check out my behavior board. Start there. If you want my help, I would say the course goes up to the age of 12. It's a whole bunch of general information about kids, but it goes into stubbornness and all that too. So if you're interested in the course, that's the boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. But yeah, start with the behavior board. That is completely free. Will not take no for an answer. You got to pick your battles though. You're only going to pick one battle at a time. So pick something that he says no to all the time. If you're doing this on your own though, probably don't pick the hardest thing. Start smaller. So check out the behavior board. It's in the link above. Okay. Whoops. I must have filmed 12 videos today. Some of them were in my courses. But yeah, my voice is almost gone. So I might not stay on the whole hour today. Like I do 30 minutes usually on Instagram or TikTok, and then the other 30 minutes I put on the other one. So I can tell my voice is kind of going. Because you don't just film videos. When I'm doing videos on here, I just do one and done. But if I'm filming videos for somewhere else that they're going to last for a long time, then I tend to try and do more than one, like one take. I didn't today, actually. I just did them all one take. But anyway. Okay, so that's why my voice is kind of going. Anyway, so parenting questions. I got 83 people on here. You must have some questions. Okay, I'll just sit and wait. What I'll do though is I'll read out my 4 stages of parenting. I don't talk about this every single day, but it comes up a lot. There are 4 very distinct stages of parenting in my book anyway. I don't have a book, but in my mind. Anyway, so this is not about the kids. This is about you. Let's say you have a baby 0 to 15 months old. This is all nurturing, loving. You're starting to sort of teach them right from wrong, but not really. You're just a gentle no and that kind of stuff. Redirecting, a lot of that. It's all lovey-dovey, all stuff. Then they hit 16 months. 16 to 35 months is the toddler stage. That's when you're really teaching them right from wrong. And it's not about words. It's about consistent corrective actions. okay? Because they're not about words. All these mini therapy sessions with toddlers are just garbage. They're all about actions, okay? Then you go into another stage as a parent. You got a child, 3 to 12 years old. My boot camp course is 3 to 12 years old. That is the height of your leadership. Even though they're very different, your parenting style is pretty much the same with a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old. Believe it or not, it just is. And then you go into the teen stage as a parent. And that is all about learning how to listen with, what am I thinking? I'm going to read that out, actually. I was going to just ramble on about something that had nothing to do with that. I don't know why. My head's just in a million different directions today. So I was going to talk about something that had nothing to do with teenagers. I don't know why. Okay, so my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers, and this is when you're going to be changing. A lot of parents don't adjust to parenting teenagers. That's why they struggle. That was my favorite age because I knew how to adjust because I'd worked with so many teenagers. So I knew how to adjust my parenting style for teenagers. That's why I sailed right through it. Okay, number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. By the way, they already know it. The better you get at silent listening, like just listen basically, the better you get at that, they can't help themselves. They're going to end up telling you everything. You're going to be a safe place to land and they're going to want to tell you everything. Okay, and the next one is with teenagers. You negotiate pretty much everything. So it goes something like this. Say, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? So you negotiate pretty much everything. The next one is with teenagers. Don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff. Allow them to make small mistakes. If they do something stupid, say, well, that was stupid. Wait till you hear what I did when I was your age. Like, don't sweat the small stuff. Okay, allow them to make mistakes. And don't judge them for anything. Okay, so parenting questions. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I've been filming all afternoon, and I'm starting to lose my voice already. So anyway, parenting questions. Why is no one asking questions? Am I missing something here? What about teens with ADHD? It's all the same stuff. ADHD, you parent the same. That's where I learned all this, by the way. My own kids didn't have it, but I've worked with hundreds of kids. No one ever said to me, here's an easy one, Lisa. They always said, good luck with this one. So that's where I learned all this. Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel, a Facebook page, and Instagram, and then TikTok. So they're all Bratbusters parenting. You said you asked, so I missed a question. I get mixed up because Instagram doesn't scroll for me automatically, and TikTok does. So if I miss questions, I just ask again. You've changed my life. How I deal with teenagers, your advice. Oh, you're very welcome. Teenagers are my favorite age. And it's not that they're difficult. It's that parents don't adjust to teenagers. They're actually quite easy. I really enjoyed it. It was my favorite age. Because they're fascinating. Once you learn how to parent a teenager, sit back and watch. They're fascinating because we've all been there. It's just, I love watching them form and turn into adults. I just thought it was wonderful. I loved it. Okay. 2-year-old started hitting now that he's going to preschool. What should I do? Check out my Toddlers Who Hit, etc. course. It's a mini toddler course. It's up above. But yeah, if they're under the age of 3, there's not much you can do about it if they're doing it at school or somewhere else because they're in the moment. It has to be consistent corrective actions. But if they're 3 and over, then you can use my behavior board. Before I just say do it because I said so, now I negotiate everything. Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, you got to negotiate. That's a big one. That is, you show respect to get it. That's with teenagers. You negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, I want you to do that from now on. What do you want from me? They usually say get off my back. Unless you got a great relationship, they wouldn't. But yeah, it works. It just does. My boy is slapping and saying no 24. Well, how old is he? Is he 2 or 20? I need to know an age. I can't answer that without an age. By the way, when you said you're a teenager, now you're negotiating pretty much everything. How is that? What's your relationship like? Like, I'm curious. The relationship really shifts a lot. Once you start to really respect your teenager, the relationship changes quite dramatically and quite quickly too. Yeah, it's wonderful. They're my favorite age. I mentored troubled teenagers. They were my favorite. I just loved it because I figured it out. I got some training, but I never used any of it. I just did my own thing, and I loved it. It was emotionally hard because I had to learn new skills. But it was every time they'd mess up, I always blame myself. I just did a video on that too. I thought people were going to just attack me for that. I didn't get a lot of bad stuff over that. But whenever they'd mess up, when I was first started working with delinquent teenagers, I never blamed them. I always thought, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? I always looked in a mirror. I always thought, what am I doing wrong here? So I had to learn. I had to teach myself how to do this. It's fascinating. I just loved it. Stop yelling at toddler. Now I see the disappointment she has when she knows I'm serious by soft tone. So I don't quite follow that. So you've stopped yelling. And now what I'm wondering is now I see the disappointment. That's what I don't understand. Disappointment. So I don't quite understand that. She's disappointed now that you're not yelling. I'm not following. I'm missing something here. Sorry, he's just gone to, it's completely changed. I'm a single mom, feel like I'm failing. Oh, toddlers are nuts. Okay, let me read out my 5 top tips for toddlers, for parenting toddlers. It's not so much that they're nuts or crazy. It's just they haven't developed sanity yet. They're all about impulses. You're trying to reason them out. Stop that. Don't try and, anyway, I'll get into it. These are my 5 top tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is you bond with a toddler by entering their world. You play in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with a toddler to get close to them. You go to the park and you roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is stop with the mini therapy sessions when you're disciplining them. Don't try and reason with them. They are consistent corrective actions. They're all actions, no words. Okay, that's the toddler's world. And then number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. You know, if you've only been in the world for 2 years and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress, don't try and reason with that. They're just forming. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains, okay? They're actually my least favorite age. I loved it at home because I childproofed my whole house. I never had to worry. But when I take them out, you just are always on edge. I'm a real safety freak, so I was always constantly watching them. Anyway, she's disappointed that she knows I didn't like her behavior. She'll get over it. She'll get over it. Okay, practicing ignoring my 23-month-old meltdowns. Did it in public yesterday and people stared. So what does that have to do with anything? My attitude was, hey, watch the show. I know what I'm doing. That's how I felt. Once you really get confidence with this and you know what you're doing, you'll be like proud of it. So yeah, it never bothered me at all. I'll tell you the mall story. But my son, he was 3 years old, and it was his second to last tantrum. And it was in the mall. We weren't even talking or anything. We were just heading towards the parking lot. And he decided to have a tantrum. I don't know what it was all about. Anyway, can't make sense out of it. So anyway, I pulled him over to the side because it was a very loud, busy mall, so it wasn't disturbing anyone. So I pull out my nail file. I'm just filing my nails while he's tantruming because you gotta ignore the tantrums. You ignore the crazy, reward the calm. It'll make sense in a minute. Anyway, so I'm completely ignoring him. I'm just looking around. And it was a very short tantrum because he was 3. He understood this by now. Anyway, all these young moms kept coming up to me. Oh, you should give him a hug. Talk about his feelings. I'm like, oh, God. Keep going, keep going. Taking parenting advice from someone who only has little children is like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. It makes no sense at all. And I have tons of experience with kids before I had my own kids. Anyway, but all these grandmothers and parents and moms with older kids kept coming up to me saying, good on you. You know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Anyway, it didn't even last that long. He gets up and I said, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go. We walked out to the parking lot. Game over. That was his second to last tantrum. He learned. Yeah, it didn't work with mom. Any attention is tantrum food. Quit trying to reason with a tantrum. I know it's trendy right now. It's those mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions with a 2-year-old. Are you kidding me? So patronizing and condescending, as if they understand that. That's for you. That whole please your parent style was invented to make the mom feel good. All those mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions and how you self-regulate a toddler, it's just garbage. That was invented to make the mom feel better about herself. It has nothing to do with the toddler. I saw that coming. I thought, are you freaking kidding me? And it hung around for a long time because it's still hanging around, I'm sure, because it's feeding the mom. It has nothing to do with the kid. Okay. Is your 5 toddler tips written down? Want to share with sleep? Yeah. That is somewhere. Look it up. Look up toddler tips or top 5 toddler tips. Bratbusters, top 5 toddler tips. It is written down So I do so much content all over the place. I lose track of what I've done. I'll look it up. Yeah, I did it probably a week ago, probably a couple days ago. So it won't be that far down. It's like video number probably 10. So just look down in my feed, in my profile in TikTok here. And Instagram comes out after that. So yeah, the TikTok is the first place I put these videos, and then YouTube and Instagram come after. So they're always a little bit delayed. And then Facebook is the same thing. It's very complicated. I can't wrap my head around it. Okay, did you ignore all tantrums? Unless they're sick. Like you meet their needs and manage their wants. If they're sick or hungry, then no, of course I'm not going to ignore the tantrum. I make sure that they get to bed and they get fed. So, but yeah, I absolutely ignored tantrums, 100%. That's why they didn't last that long. And my son had them, my daughter never did. They're either wired for them or they're not. They're either going to have them or they're not. I never had a tantrum because I don't have a temper really. And same with my daughter. We have very long fuses. And even when we blow, it's very, you should see my daughter and I argue. It's like, oh, I don't know, I'm not real thrilled with what you said. Yeah, well, I'm probably not real, like we don't even, it's pathetic. Yeah. But my son, he had it, he had temper tantrums. Hmm. What do you, oh God, you're going to hate me. What do you do if, I'm okay with that. What do you do if your toddler gets mad that you won't buy them a toy at the store? Who gives a hoot what they, what? What do you mean, what do you do if they get mad at you because you won't buy them a toy at the store? Are you serious? So? Don't get political in here. I'm not going to answer that. Okay. That's a different comment in there. Okay. How do you ignore a tantrum when it's because you want them to do something they don't want to do? If you have to get out the door, just pick them up and throw them under your arm. You're still ignoring them. You don't look at them or talk to them. So if you have to get out the door, just pick them up, cart them out. My son knew that. If he was having a tantrum because he didn't want to go somewhere, I picked him up under my arm, put him in that car seat. He knew mom was going to take charge, but you can't reason with them like in that tantrum. So yeah, I still ignore it. I don't look at them or talk to them when they're having a tantrum. Never. But if we need to go somewhere and they need to get dressed, I'm getting them dressed. I'm Canadian and I'm also Australian. My kids were born and raised in Australia. I might have to move over to Instagram now. I can tell I'm starting to lose my voice. I usually do 30 minutes on TikTok and then 30 minutes on Instagram. But I'm going to have to move over because I can just feel it. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my voice and then I won't even be able to say goodbye. So yeah, I've been filming all afternoon with different things and doing videos. So yeah, I can tell I'm going to lose my voice. Anyway, sorry about that. If you want to follow me, if you want to keep watching, I'll be on Instagram. And I don't know why the YouTube chat is not working for some reason. Anyway, I'm also on YouTube. All these lives are filmed on YouTube and saved there. Once I've done it on Instagram and on TikTok, poof, they're just gone. But anyway, so I'm moving over to Instagram now. Thanks so much for joining me. If you want to join me on Instagram, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Oh, and check the link above if you want to know about courses, coaching, etc. I know you're still on YouTube, but I can't see the chat, so I can't answer anything. I don't know why the chat's not working. Anyway, sorry about that. Okay, I was just talking to YouTube. Anyway, I'm assuming you probably are coming over from TikTok and I'm losing my voice. So yeah, I usually do 30 minutes on TikTok, and then 30 minutes on Instagram, or not always in that order. But I've been filming all day today or all afternoon, so I'm losing my voice. Hello, Mom to JJ. Okay, so go ahead with your parenting questions. I won't be on here for that long because I can feel I'm losing my voice. I've been filming all day, so yeah, I can feel it going. Anyway, so feel free to ask away. In the link above, you'll see all my free behavior board, my courses. I have mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and then also my coaching if you're interested. And anyway, go ahead and ask your parenting questions, and I'll do my best to answer them before my voice gives out. You know, you can feel it going. Yeah, we'll see how long I last. Okay. How do we stop our children from bad language? If they're 3 and over, you put on the behavior board, no bad words. And then there's a consequence if they say a bad word. Check out the behavior board. It's completely free. Best response to meltdowns, scenes, fits, whatever. People will argue with me. There's a difference between a meltdown and a tantrum. I don't care. They're all like crazy. They're in the crazy zone. So you completely ignore the crazy and reward the calm. So yeah, you ignore it. I've got lots of stuff on tantrums. Also, I have a toddler tantrum course, but which story? I just told a story on TikTok about tantrums. So tantrums are the hardest on stories are the hardest on my voice because I don't get a break when I'm telling a story and I'm losing my voice. So I don't really want to tell the tantrum story again. But yeah, you completely ignore tantrums and then you reward the calm. So you ignore the crazy, reward the calm. So while they're tantruming, I'm just filing my nails. As soon as they're done, you all done? Okay, let's get going. Or okay, let's read a book or something. I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. I just never would. Why would I discuss that? Now, the only exception, you're still ignoring them, but if they get violent, if they're hurting themselves, someone else, or damaging property, you physically restrain them. You can't do that with a bigger kid, though. 7, 9, around there. If you can't physically restrain them at that age, you don't even try. You just don't. Psychologically, it's a different level. So, but when they're little, you physically restrain them from harm. Whining 4-year-old, how do I stop you? Well, at 4 years old, you can say to them, I don't like this tone of voice, and mimic it. Say, I want that. So if you talk to me like that, I'm going to be ignoring you from now on. Okay? And then when they ask politely, then you give them attention. But you got to go in kind of quick. So you might say, I want that. And you can give them a look like that. Once you've already explained that tone of voice will not get any attention. But yeah, it's kind of, I always say you ignore the crazy and reward the calm. Whining is in the crazy zone. Whining, tantrums, there's a few things. Did I just do a video on that? I lose track. I just talk about parenting all day, every day, and I lose track of where I've talked about what. What? There was 4 things that you ignore. What was it? Tantrums, whining, oh, screaming. I thought there was a 4th. I can't remember. Anyway, if possible, if they're on an airplane, you don't ignore screaming. Someone asked me a very good question. They said, can you help me? It was direct messages. By the way, I spend about an hour every day trying to answer direct messages. I don't get to them all. I'm doing the best I can. So the comments, I rarely see comments. And don't email me any parenting questions. I don't even look at those. I don't have time. So, but yeah, I'm doing my best to answer the direct messages. Yeah, it just gets out of hand sometimes. But what was I going to say? Oh, someone asked me about flying. They said, when you've got a toddler, can you give me some advice on how to fly easily with a toddler? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't have a clue. And because I've flown with toddlers, long overhaul flights from Australia to Canada, and with a toddler, and I'll tell you, there's no solution. But when all rules go out the window, there's no way I would ignore a tantrum on a flight. I wouldn't do that to other passengers. I would think that'd be so rude. I would give in to anything my kids wanted on a flight, and then they forget, they'll survive that. You may not, but they will. But yeah, just do whatever you got to do, whatever they want. Sure, you can have it, whatever they want if you're on a flight. So I had no advice for that parent whatsoever. I always say you got to be consistent, but you don't torture other passengers. Okay, having a hard time with my 4-year-old. He still co-sleeps and needs me. Okay, check out my Bedtime Battles course. That's quite new. It's only been out for about 4 weeks now. And that is all about how to get them to bed and how to keep them there. That's the hard part, by the way. keeping them there. Anyway, so check that out if you're interested. It goes from about 2 to 8 years old. I need to know the age. You're asking about hitting. I don't know if he's 7 or 17 months. It makes a big difference. Examples of consequences per age. Well, check out the behavior board. It gives you some ideas. But also, if you want the boot camp course, it goes into detail with every age. Yeah, I can't go through that here. It would take me about an hour. 14-month-old can have tantrums. Okay, with children under the age of about 15 months and under, you can redirect a tantrum. So let's say they're having a fit over something. As long as they're not hurting themselves or anything, you just leave them alone. I would go sit on the couch with their favorite book and read it out loud to myself. Do not look at them. Do not look at them. You're just like reading, oh, wow, and the fox jumped over the, wow. The whole idea is they'll come over, sit in your lap, next thing you know, you're reading. But you're still ignoring the tantrum. But it's kind of redirecting, but it's not directly redirecting. Does that make any sense? Yeah. You just sort of look like you're doing something really fun over here. But yeah, they're still babies up until about 15, 16 months. I did a video and I thought everyone's going to bail on me after this one. And I talked about how, because someone came on a live, I'm sure she'll never come back, I'm sure. But anyway, and she said, my 3-year-old's totally out of control. And I said, well, that's just a tell. It means she doesn't respect you. So you got to work on your leadership skills because it's all you, right? It's all you lead, they will follow. Anyway, then she wrote back and she said, so what you're saying is it's all my fault? And I answered back, you bet it is. Like, of course it is. That's what a leader does. A leader takes responsibility. So I want you to all feel that's the best news you can hear. If you're blaming your kids and not yourself, how are you going to fix anything? Doesn't make any sense at all to me. You can only fix and change yourselves, but they will react to that, okay? So that's what it's all about. Leadership is about you lead, they will follow. It just works that way. So now I took responsibility with these troubled teens I was working with. If they messed up and under my care, I always blame myself. I always thought, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong here? I always look in the mirror when it comes to children, always. That's what a leader does. I'm a grandma and love your post and info. You certainly get kids of all ages. Teenagers are my favorite age, so it's pretty easy going backwards to all the other ages. But teenagers are by far my favorite age. That's where I've literally saved lives over the years. I've been doing this for 17 years now in my business, but that is where you can make the biggest difference. But I used to do a lot of media work, TV and radio, and one night they introduced me as the crisis queen at the top of the news, and because some kid had done the worst, right? So anyway, and they said, oh, we got the crisis queen. We're lucky to have the crisis queen like tonight. And I was like, I don't want to be the crisis queen. They were very sweet. They're always really nice to me. But I didn't want to be the crisis queen. I want to be I don't want to be a queen, but I want to be in the prevention business. So I'm trying to prevent all those troubles. In coaching, yeah, I still do crisis work, but I don't lead with that anymore. That used to be my specialty, was teen crisis work and all age crisis work, actually. A lot of abused little children in that too. I worked with that. But yeah, I want to prevent all that. That's my goal, is to prevent all that stuff. Are tantrums unavoidable? Absolutely not. No way. No. Not when they're little. No. In the hitting and I hate you phase. Okay, you're not going to like my answer probably. But anyway, my son is 5. I try to ignore, but I feel I did. Yeah. Okay. He doesn't have any respect for you. Okay, none. There's no way he would be doing that. They just don't. When you're a leader, they want to please you. That's the whole point. Leadership, you don't have to do anything. They're self-disciplining because they're trying to please you. That's what leadership's all about. You're like a mentor. You're someone, you bring out the best in them. You make them feel good about themselves. Guaranteed his self-esteem's in the toilet right now. You want to increase his self-esteem by setting yourself up as a leader. Check out my boot camp course. That might be really good for you. Okay, it goes in 5 weeks, how to set yourself up as a leader, 3 to 12-year-olds. So check that out. You can fix yourself. You can do that. We're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. You have so much more power than you realize, even with teenagers. You have so much more power in this relationship with your teenagers even than you even realize. You just have to learn how to talk to them, how to deal with them, how to respect them. You got to give respect to get it. I do that with all ages. You give respect to get it. That's what a leader does. A leader you don't want them to feel great about you. They will, but your goal is to make them feel good about themselves. You want your children to love themselves, like themselves, have pride in themselves, and they want to please you when they're little. When they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. They want to please themselves, right? They have pride. They're becoming independent adults and all that stuff. Teenagers are by far my favorite age. When you know how to deal with teenagers, you can just sit back and watch. I love watching kids grow up and like teenagers turn into adults. I find it fascinating. Okay. You learn a lot about yourself when you do all this too. It's about self-control, patience, because it works. This stuff just works. When you get good at it, it gets easy. You said age-appropriate consequences. I can't go through 18 years. You'd have to tell me a specific age. Also, just check out the behavior board. It explains how you do that. It's free. It's in the link above. Everything I have in my business is in the link above. Actually, I might have to get going. I've got a really sore throat. I've been filming all day, and I can tell if I don't stop talking soon, I won't be able to talk at all tomorrow. So I'm a little bit worried about it. I'll try and go for another 5 minutes, but my voice is just starting to go. Well, how do I handle a 2-year-old boy who's too active? What's too active? You got to learn how to direct him into, okay, well, what should I read out here? Should I read that again? What do you mean by too active? Is he dangerous or is he just getting on your nerves? I worked with tons of active kids. My kids weren't, but I've worked with tons of active kids. And I'll tell you a cute story, actually. I was working with this one kid in school. He had ADHD, WXYZ, you name it. He had everything. Anyway, he was a handful. Anyway, I had to work on him, and I was just in there volunteering up the back of the class supporting the teacher. In Australia, you could do that. You could just turn up and be a volunteer at the school, and because they really rely heavily on parent involvement. They don't do that in Canada, but they did that anyway. In Australia, it was wonderful. So anyway, the teacher said to me, "Look, he's having a really bad day. Can you please?" Well, I think he was 7 or something. We're doing this test now. Can you please help him with the test? His eyes were doing this. Oh my God, he was just off the planet. His hyperactivity was just, he couldn't focus on anything. So I said to the teacher, can I get permission to take him to the playground? And it was on school grounds, but you need permission for that, right? So anyway, and I was already cleared to be in there and all that stuff. So they said, yeah, take him to the playground. Do you know what I did with him? I thought, how am I going to get him to do this test? So here was my rule. I said, you can go on the swing so long as you're answering questions while you're swinging. So I was swinging with them, but I just about threw up because of reading and swinging. Anyway, he was swinging, and then I'd ask him a question on the test, and then I'd fill it out. So he pretty much aced that test, but I had to meet his needs. His needs were swinging. Teachers can't do that. They can't take 30 kids out and swing with them. It was just lucky that I was in there that day, and he did really well on the test, but I got him swinging, working out the energy. So you can't fight it. You got to figure out a way to work with it. And by the time they're in school, there's lots of other strategies I use helping parents through that. But yeah, I don't know what you mean by too active, but that's just a really good sign. You can't fight it. You just have to learn how to work with it. You meet their needs and manage their wants. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to get going. My voice is really starting to bug me. So thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow sometime. My regularly scheduled lives are in the link above. I do half on TikTok, half on Instagram. That's how I'm doing lives these days. And all the lives are on YouTube the whole time. The whole live is on YouTube. That's where I save them all. Anyway, check out the link above for my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, and my private one-on-one coaching. It's done on 1 hour a week, usually on Zoom. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you're having a great weekend. Bye now.